Okay, so I wound up sleeping a lot over the past couple of days. I guess I just been really tired. But I got another DC Multiverse figure to open for you today, and this is Kite Man Batman Rogues. And recently Kite Man got his own cartoon series on HBO Max, which apparently was spun off from the Harley Quinn show. I haven't really watched. Kite Man had a little bit of a renaissance during Tom King's run on Batman. Apparently, he had a fondness for this character, so wound up using him a bit on that, which led to him being used quite a bit on the Harley Quinn series, which led to him getting his own animated series on HBO Max. So this is obviously based on the more modern version. There is a platinum version that looks more like the Silver Age version with the more bulbous yellow helmet. That would have been the one I would have preferred to have had. But I don't really blame them for making the more modern version, the more standard figure. And this is a Mcfarlane Collector Edition, so you know what that means. That means it's overpriced, even more overpriced now since they raised the price on these. Ugh, man. But I'm a sucker for goofy Silver Age Batman villains, so I had to get Kite Man. So, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Kite Man's real name, Charles Brown. They're probably going to mention that on the trading card. So here's a piece of artwork on the back. Again, it's the more modern style of Kite Man, but Kite Man can't ever not be goofy. Honestly, he's always going to be goofy. Even in the modern comics, kind of the point of Kite Man is that he's a goofy character. But let's go ahead and open him up. This is number 43 of I don't always point that out. I don't always remember. But yeah, it's number 43 of Mcfarlane Collector Edition. And then we can go ahead and get the hands out of the package. Most of his extra accessories are extra hands. And he's got two solid fists and two gripping hands, both of which seem to have trigger fingers on them. There we go. Get those out of there. And then he's got a little backpack, which I guess is for when he doesn't have his kite deployed. You can stick that on his back and gives it a little bit of verisimilitude, I suppose, for when he's not using his kite. And for whatever reason, they put the rubber tabs up around like the thickest part of the calf rather than the ankle, which makes it a little more difficult to get to. And these rubber tabs are all the way around the figure. He's got double rubber tabs around his abs, and I'm having a hard time getting at those. Even I don't think the snips would help me just because it's so deep in the package to get to. Yeah, come on. And there we go. That's all that's holding him in there. And we'll have a look at the figure in just a little bit. There's another extra blister in here, and that's holding the kite in place. Because what would Kite Man be without a kite? Frankly, does not look large enough to support this guy. So, yeah, Kite Man was a villain that made a few appearances during the Silver Age. And I believe it was writer Len Wein that brought him back in the Bronze Age. And it kind of made sense to bring back Kite Man at that time, since hang gliding was kind of all the rage in the 1970s. So Kite Man, kind of like a hang glider, basically, like in the 1950s anyway. Got a black DC figure stand with a silver DC logo embossed onto it. Every figure should come with a figure stand. And McFarlane's always been really good about that. You know who's not so good about that? Mattel. So I'm kind of worried that we might not get figure stands anymore once Mattel takes back the license. And then we got the trading card out. We'll have a look at that in just a second, but I want to go ahead and put the box back together so I can get ready to toss that in the recycling later. So I haven't seen the Kite Man animated series, but a friend of mine has seen it. My friend Bobby Blank. um, who I've known since high school. He really enjoyed it, but he's a big fan of that Harley Quinn show, and I haven't even really seen that yet either. So, you know, anyway, let's go ahead and have a look at the trading card before I forget. Got the same piece of artwork on the front. That's what the back looks like. And it reads Kite Man, Batman Rogues, data file, real name Charles Brown. After studying wind in school, Charles Brown fell into a life of crime, designing the aerodynamics of the Joker's Jokermobile, but otherwise regarded as a loser, even by his wife. He became Kite Man when the Riddler murdered his son during the War of Jokes and Riddles, adopting the identity as a way to honor the boy with whom he used to fly kites. Hell yeah. That is the name of the Kite Man cartoon show. Kite Man, hell yeah. That's why I put that in the title of the video. So, and for those of you who are fans of Batman the Brave and the Bold, you might remember that one of Kite Man's villain, or one of his henchmen when he appeared as a villain on that show, was a guy named Eel O'Brien, who later on would become Plastic Man. So he's got a little bit of a connection with Plastic Man. I think that's kind of cool. Anyway, let's go ahead and have a look at our Kite Man figure. So the backpack, here we go. It's a separate piece, and it just kind of clamps around the figure. It left an oily residue on the figure's chest, which kind of makes me worry that like maybe these aren't types of plastic that are very compatible for each other. But you can see like the straps just kind of clamp along the chest here. We can kind of bend them around the figure, and la-di-da, that's what that looks like. So you see there's this kind of odd shaped hole in the back here, like a rectangle with a notch cut out of it, and that matches up to the back of the backpack here. So we can put that on there. It looks kind of like a parachute pack once it's all put together, which makes sense because it's going to deploy this kite. Now I'm kind of worried because this kite doesn't act. This backpack, it's actually a little bit loose on him. I'm kind of worried as to how well this kite is really gonna stay on his back. I'm worried it might be too heavy, but no, it seems to stay on there just fine. So there's what he looks like with his kite deployed. So you can imagine him kind of gliding through the air. Now, I remember the kite being much larger in his Bronze Age appearance because again, they were going for like a hang glider kind of thing, and that's the issue that I remember. I don't think I've ever actually read any of the Silver Age appearance of Kite Man. Come to think of it, but I definitely read that Bronze Age appearance because I have it. So so yeah, that's what he looks like when he's all put together. Might as well get a closer look at these hands. And he's got a left and a right hand that both are kind of gripping hands with the trigger finger on them. So you can get a look at that. And a left and a right hand with a solid fist. And the hands that he has on the figure is he has an open hand on his left hand, and for the right hand he has a thumbs up. So hell yeah, there you go. Without the kite on him, he just kind of reminds me a little bit of Hydra Bob from the Deadpool comics. So that's kind of funny. Again, the Platinum Edition does have the more Silver Age type of helmet, which is a little more yellow and a bit more bulbous and has red goggles. That's my preferred look for Kite Man, honestly. And if you have the Lego minifigure of Kite Man, that's the design he has for that. So that would have come out with the Lego Batman movie, but I did really like that Lego Kite Man figure. That was pretty cool. So and again, that was before Tom King got his hands on Kite Man and wound up bringing him back and making him a little more prominent. So this is the the kind of standard buck that we see a lot of the times on these DC figures. You think about like the Nightwing we just opened, and Captain Atom, and of course the Riddler, who I always have over here. Speaking of the Riddler, since he was mentioned on the trading card, but you can see that most of the parts of Kite Man are shared with the Riddler. He does have that kind of more blank pelvis. The belt is just painted on. There's no added detail at the gloves. The gloves are just painted on. The boots are just kind of standard of the boots of this particular body design. So this is about as basic as you can get with this body. This is like the most basic version of this body. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. And like I said, I've been over this several times talking about this body type. But, for those of you who came in late, we can go ahead and talk about this. And I'm probably some of you just like listening to me talk about it anyway. I assume that you like to listen to me prattle on. If you're this deep into the video and you're still listening to me talk, you're probably somebody that just likes the sound of my voice, which, I can't imagine why, but, here you are. So anyway, Kite Man can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, arms rotate all the way around the shoulders, and they've got that kind of Mcfarlane butterfly joint there, which gives you some good range of motion there. The arms can raise up to the sides about that far. Of course, he has a bicep, so most of the bicep rotates all the way around. He's got double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows. Of course, he's got the cool Mcfarlane wrist articulation, which means it rotates all the way around where the wrist meets the forearm and where the wrist meets the hand. And you get a hinge here that can really move any which way you want. Love the Mcfarlane wrist articulation. It's the best wrist articulation that exists. Same with the ankles because it's the same design principle. Torso can move from side to side about that far, back about that far, forward about that far. Of course, it's that great Mcfarlane torso articulation. So it does rotate all the way around where the rib cage meets the abs and where the abs meet the trunks. Kite Man can kick up about that far, which is, typical for this body type, like I said. And it's got a little bit of a wobble here, not a full rotation, but enough you can get a little bit of extra articulation out of it. He's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. And then he's got, like I mentioned before, the cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation. So the ankle rotates all the way around where the ankle meets the shin and where the ankle meets the foot. And then, of course, the foot can point down about that far. The foot can point up about that far. And he's got toe articulation just to show off. So Kite Man's a pretty cool figure. And if you're a fan of this character or goofy Silver Age Batman villains in general, as I am, this is going to be one you're going to want to add to your collection, definitely, even though he is a little overpriced. Lone Dragon says, look at Mr. Rich Guy who can buy a bunch of belts and doesn't need one. doesn't need one honest like common folk. Yeah. Yeah, like personally, I got like belts that I like to wear that are mainly made to hold my pants up, and some belts that are made to hold equipment. So as far as like work life goes, but yeah, it's his belt doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of painted on there, and then he's got the backpack. So let's go ahead and get that back on him. Get ready to take the picture for the thumbnail. I'll set him up in front of the Batcave, and yeah, something like that. Probably be the thumbnail. I think that'll work pretty well. Anyway, that's it for Kite Man. I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about that. But we do have a couple of more DC Multiverse figures in the Batman camp because we still got our year 2 Batman to open up. I think that's what I'm going to use at the very end of this run. And I guess I'll open up this Batgirl figure next, which this is the Page Punchers Barbarian Cave Girl type Batgirl. So I'll open her up next. Interesting looking figure, so we should have some fun with that. But Kite Man definitely gets a recommend, even though he's a little pricey. I think this figure does kind of justify, I think, being a collector edition figure, just because you've got the kite to deal with, so that is a bigger piece than what we usually get. But I do kind of feel like it's still overpriced just because they raised the price of the collector edition figures, which were already overpriced. I kind of feel like it should probably be about $5 less than it is. Which stays consistent with I've always thought collector edition figures should be $5 less than what they are, but of course then they raise the price by $5. But I'm going to take inflation and everything into account when I say that, and be generous and say that, like, I guess in terms of like how much stuff costs now, it being $5 more. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You get the point that I'm trying to get across. But there was no way I was going to let Kite Man pass because, I still haven't gotten the Malcolm Merlin figure yet, which I would like to get. That came out around the same time as this, but Kite Man, of course, was the higher priority. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Kite Man. Is this guy a hell yeah for you, or is he a hell no? Or is he a hell maybe if I, have a little bit of extra money when I run across them and can actually afford. Some figures are like that for me. Some I'll see think, it's pretty cool, but I don't really want to spend the money on it right now. Maybe if later on in the week I haven't found anything cool, and maybe then I'll pick him up if I still haven't bought anything. But Kite Man for me was definitely a hell yeah. So anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you like and subscribe. YouTube likes it when I say like and subscribe, so I like to say like and subscribe. That way more people like and subscribe, and if more people like and subscribe and watch the videos, then that means that more people will see the videos, and then those people will also like and subscribe, etc., all that kind of fun stuff. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.